I've been building my own kingdom for everyone to see. It exists to keep me safe from harm, and it's intact to glorify me. Nobody helped me build this up. It was me and me alone. I've appointed myself as the king, and I've given myself the throne. But it turns out I'm no ruler, and I have no control. So I have decided to destroy it all. I'm tearing down the walls, kicking down the doors. Everything inside this kingdom is yours. 'Cause what I've made is worthless, and it cannot stand. Come and breathe some life into my ear. I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up.
Get that intro off. End that countdown early. We gotta talk about some things, bro. We gotta talk about some things. We got news today. The chat is blowing up. I was reading y'all's comments sitting here. I was losing it. Bro, I wasn't even going to do an episode today. Me and my wife went to the pumpkin patch. We just got back, was eating a little lunch, getting ready to go do some other things today. I wasn't even going to do an episode. And I saw the news come through, and I said, honey, can I have about 30, 40 minutes to go upstairs and talk about some things? She says, sure. What a woman. Here we are today. The news is in. Brian Callahan has been fired, folks. He's been fired. Y'all are awful in these comments, bro. The Caliban. Okay, Brian Callahan's been fired. The official statement from Chad Brinker. After extended conversations with our owner and general manager, we met with Brian Callahan this morning to tell him we are making a change at head coach. These decisions are never easy, and they become more difficult when they involve people of great character. We are grateful for Brian's investment in the Titans and the Tennessee community during his tenure as head coach. We thank him and his family for being exemplary. Did they misspell that? That would be hilarious. Ambassadors of the Tennessee Titans. While we are committed to a patient and strategic plan to build a sustainable winning football program, we have not demonstrated sufficient growth. Our players, fans, and community deserve a football team that achieves a standard we are currently not meeting. And we are committed to making the hard decisions necessary to reach and maintain that standard. You dang right the fans deserve better. Stanley Wilson said, nope, Brad, you said you weren't doing a show today. I wasn't, but look at God. Here we go. Brian Callahan fired. I didn't think they were going to do it today. I didn't think they were going to do it. I didn't think I was going to go live today, and I didn't think they were going to fire Brian Callahan, but they have fired Brian Callahan. He is no longer the head coach. I don't know who the interim's going to be. They got to name one soon. They got a game on Sunday. I'm going to be refreshing Twitter to see if they name a interim head coach, but you guys be keeping your eyes out too, and we'll see. Brian Callahan, the bar for him was incredibly low coming into this season. It was incredibly low. He forced their hand, guys. He forced their hand. Chad Brinker said it in the statement. We wanted to be patient. We tried to take the patient approach. We tried to see this thing through, and he forced their hand. The bar was so low. All they had to do was show improvement from last year. And lost in how bad they are now, we forget how awful they were last year, bro. All he had to do was show improvement from that. And he couldn't even do that, bro. Shut up, computer. Shut up, computer. Sick of this, bro. This is supposed to be a happy occasion. I mean, I hate to be happy over somebody losing their job, but this is the real world, bro. And when you are bad at your job, that's life, man. When you are this bad at your job, you're going to get fired. If you are a cashier who can't count change correctly over and over and over again, you're going to get fired. If you're a mechanic who can't find the engine in a car over and over again, you're going to get fired. If you are a waitress who goes to pour the water in the glass and repeatedly misses the glass, you're going to get fired. If you are a head coach who repeatedly has people lining up off sides, illegal formation, long develop and run plays, refuses to run play action even though it's what your quarterback is best at, refuses to run RPOs even though you know that's what your quarterback's best at, refuses to run a hurry-up offense even though you have stated you know that's what he's good at, refuses to call good plays, has an offensive scheme that has been proven to not work, you're going to get fired, man. The screen passes, get out of town. Get out of town. The bar was so low for this guy coming into this season, and he still couldn't clear it. And now he's fired. In what may go down, and I'm not just saying it because it's us, in what may go down as the worst head coaching hire other than Urban Meyer. I would say Urban Meyer is probably the worst head coaching hire I've ever seen in my life. But Brian Callahan is essentially just Urban Meyer without the girl sitting on his lap at the bar. I mean, I'm sorry. I know that's low, but like Brian Callahan is Urban Meyer without the blonde girl on his lap at the bar. And like, he's one of the worst head coaching hires I've ever seen. 4-19 as a head coach? But it's worse than just the record, bro. Like, this team, everybody talks about the Jets right now and how bad the Jets are, and I understand, like, that's going to get more publicity because they're the Jets and they're in New York or whatever, but, like, man, this team is next level bad. The Tennessee Titans, and don't forget what we heard, Jeffrey Simmons was begging this organization to fire Brian Callahan after this game. Do you hear what Jeff said in the locker room? We had a bad week of practice. Coming off our first win of the season that came in dramatic fashion, we had a terrible week of practice. And then Cam Ward backed it up. Cam Ward said, yeah, our week of practice was the worst we've had so far. That's coming off of a win. Jeffrey Simmons was pretty much putting the bat symbol in the sky to Amy Adams Strunk and all the higher-ups saying, fire this coach, man. Fire him. And then the first overall pick backed him up and said, yeah, our week of practice following up a win sucked. And did you hear what Brian Callahan, I haven't listened to everything that Brian Callahan said in his post-game presser yesterday. Bro, he was supposed to do a press conference today at 2:30. I guess that's not happening. But yesterday, Brian Callahan in the post-game press conference said, it is what it is. That's what he said. He said, it is what it is, man. I mean, listen, Brian Callahan has known he's getting fired for the last 3 weeks. After that Colts game when the fans were booing and they were chanting fire Callahan, it was written in the stars that day that he was going to get fired. Like, he was not going to be the head coach of this team next year. Everybody, it was written in the stars. But the organization wanted to see it through. They preached patience, so we're going to just stick with it. And then what happened? You go to Houston and get shut out. He gives up the play calling. Like, these are all, like, you don't have to be a meteorologist to tell which way the wind's blowing. It's been obvious he's going to get fired. It was just a matter of when, not if. And this team, coming off of maybe their only win they're going to get this season, followed it up with a terrible week of practice and then a performance against the Raiders that, I mean, my goodness, it was offensive. They should have put a parental advisory on the screen for what I watched yesterday. Awful. Your first overall pick looks like he's going in the wrong direction. He's looking more lost every single week. And if given the choice, I'm taking the side of my first overall pick and not this head coach. I'm sticking with Ward over Callahan. And that's what the organization said today because they had to. He forced their hand. They wanted to be patient. They wanted to see it through. He forced their hand. And you know what? When Rand Carthon was fired back in January, you can go back and listen to the episode I did. I said, why would you not fire Callahan too and just wipe the slate clean? You're going to have a new GM and you're going to have a new franchise quarterback. Why not just complete the trifecta and have a new head coach too? But no, we had to stick with Callahan, and now here we are. We decided we'd rather fire him in October than to just fire him back in January when it would have made some semblance of sense. But alas, and I do wonder, man, how much, because the Titans are a smaller market team and there's not a whole lot of people like me out there. Me, Roland, I mean, I'm talking about other than the local radio people, you got me, Roland, you got Rossi, there's not a whole lot of Titans content people out there. I just got to wonder if they've been on social media and have seen the backlash, and not just from me, not just from Tyler, but like all of these people that talk about the Titans, even if you're just on X and putting your thoughts out there that way. I have to wonder if they're seeing this, if they've been seeing this, because it's been bad, bro. It's been the worst that I've seen. Y'all are asking about if my wife's mad at me for doing this. No, we still got our plans for the day. We happened to be home. The news came in. I said, hey, can I have about 30, 40 minutes to go talk? And she said, yeah. Sick podcast? Yeah. Like there's no way they haven't seen the vitriol and the anger of this fan base. And they have to know it's justified. Like, they have to know it's justified, man. Like, what? What are we doing? This is despicable. This has been disgraceful football that I've seen. He's one of the worst head coaches I've ever seen. God bless the guy. I know there's a reason they threw in there about how high of a character he has. I'm sure he's a good guy. I'm sure he's a great father and a great husband, but he's one of the worst head coaches that I've ever seen in my life. He's one of the worst head coaches I've ever seen. And I guess this means his dad's going too. But I got to believe Bill Callahan been a disappointment too. Did you see J.C. Latham yesterday? Bill Callahan was supposed to fix that. Did you see Lloyd Cushenberry and Kevin Zeitler with a dude running right through him? And now what Bill Callahan, what did he bring to the table? What, the Bertha thing? Like, okay, that's nice. That's fancy. But can we block anybody in an actual game? So I guess they're both gone. Cruzan 26 said, I can't believe my GM was going to give you guys a 2026 first round pick to move up 2 spots, a 3rd overall pick, and a 2026 first round pick. That's a Giants fan. So That's a Cam Ward conversation, and we kind of had that conversation last night. We can talk about that some other time. I do appreciate you watching, but like the news of the day is that Brian Callahan's been fired, and this has been a disaster. Because even though this was the right thing to do, it was the right thing to do 3 weeks ago at least, but like, do you realize how stupid this organization looks? I'm sorry. I mean, that's blunt, but like, fire Robinson, then you fire Vrabel, then you fire Carthon, then you fire Callahan. We're just going down the line. Like, it looks like an organization that does not know what they're doing. Fire GM, fire the coach. Fire GM, fire the coach. If I was Mike Morganzi, the current GM, I'd start my butthole start getting a little tight right now. Because you next, bro. By the logic of the Titans, you next. There was a super chat. Let me scroll up and get that. Stanley Wilson says, kind of messed up that he got fired on his day off and while the kids are on fall break. Listen, man, kind of messed up that I've been subjected to watching this offense for the last year and a half. Like, that's offensive to me. That's offensive to me. This has been miserable. The Brian Callahan Titans, in 10 years, when people ask me what I remember about the Brian Callahan Titans, I'm going to say it was miserable. It was miserable to watch. It was miserable to tune in and see. Awful. Nothing good about it. Nothing good. And as far as, so what does this mean for the rest of this season? Well, they're going to name an interim, and I'm sure they're going to do that at 2:30 because Brian Callahan was going to do a press conference at 2:30, and I'm sure they'll name an interim there, which is in about an hour, because I'm still not seeing that they've named an interim. But it's probably going to be Denard Wilson, the defensive coordinator. I don't think Denard Wilson is doing as good of a job as some of you think he is, but his defense is ready to play every week, most weeks. Like, I will say that, like, the defense is doing a heck of a lot better than the offense. So for that reason, I could see Denard Wilson being named the interim. I still like Bones Fossil. I still like Bones Fossil as the interim head coach. But either way, like, what does it really change for the remainder of the season? Because they're not going to introduce a new offensive scheme, and I'm sure that Bo Hardegree is going to remain the play caller, and that's going to be interesting to see because I thought Bo Hardegree was terrible yesterday. I thought Bo Hardegree did a terrible job, and I'm just curious how much of that is still Callahan. Like, how much of that, like, is Bo Hardegree literally just doing what he wants to do, or has Callahan still had his hand in it? I guess we'll find out because you're probably going to get to see Bo Hardegree with no Brian Callahan anywhere around, and it's just going to be up to Hardegree. We'll see. But the offensive scheme, like, you can't change offenses in the middle of a season. Scott Leonard said, didn't you call it that Brian Callahan would get fired before we played the Patriots, take the momentum to win over Vrabel? That was actually Tyler Rowland that said that, and it came to fruition. The Titans, it is no coincidence, the Titans have fired Brian Callahan the week before Mike Vrabel comes back to town. Amy Adams Strunk said, at the very least, I am not going to have Mike Vrabel come in here and destroy his replacement. I'm just going to get him out of town before Vrabel can even get here. And maybe, who knows, usually when people fire their head coach in the middle of a season, sometimes they get that week one bump of having a new person in charge. Sometimes that gives them a bump and they play better. I mean, maybe the Titans are hoping they can get up to upset Vrabel this Sunday, but I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen either way because the Patriots are just way more talented than the Titans. But as far as interim head coaches and what's it going to change, the main thing I hope it can change that I think is realistic, first of all, like I said, we'll see Bo Hardegree call plays without Brian Callahan's influence. But also, is there going to be is there going to be like a difference in the approach of this team, which has been painfully conservative under Brian Callahan? Like, anytime there is an option to even be remotely aggressive, he's going to take the coward's way out every time. I wonder if that'll be different. Like, if you put Denard Wilson, if you put Bones Fossil, and this is what I said weeks ago when I said they should have fired Callahan after the Colts game. Like, if you are Denard Wilson and you get to be the interim head coach, like, you're the interim head coach. You ain't got nothing to lose. This team's 1-5. Why not just be aggressive, man? Like, why not just be aggressive, bro? Like, what do you got to lose? 4th and 1? Go for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, 1st and 10, first play of the game, let's take a deep shot. Why not? Let's be aggressive. We ain't no good anyway. So I'm interested to see if that changes under the interim head coach, if just the overall philosophy that is always conservative, always playing not to lose. I wonder if that could change. And I guess maybe you could have some hope that maybe Bo Hardegree, without Brian Callahan's influence, might be a slightly better play caller than whatever that was we saw in Las Vegas yesterday. But here's the thing. It's not, for this season, I don't think it's going to change too much, like in terms of wins and losses. Scott Leonard said it almost seemed like Cam was being told not to scramble by Callahan. It looked like he would start to run, then stop himself. Who knows? Well, I don't know what's going through Cam's head there. But I don't know if it's going to change much about the wins or losses, because like the roster's not great, and especially if Calvin Ridley's out at wide receiver. I mean, you're talking about one of the worst offense wide receiver groups in the league. But I mean, maybe there'll be a little bit more fun to be had, maybe, because the most important thing for this season is seeing Cam Ward grow and learn and get better, which is the opposite of what we're seeing right now. Cam Ward's getting worse. Cam Ward's looking more lost every week. So maybe if you get Brian Callahan out of the way, maybe they can loosen Cam up a little bit and make it to where he can do some things that he felt too not free to do under Callahan. We'll see. Time will tell. Again, in terms of wins and losses, I don't know how much this is going to make a difference for the Titans in the long game, but I'm at least glad to see that they made this decision. Had to do it. Should have done it 3 weeks ago at least, but I've never seen the fan base, including myself, I've never seen the fan base this defeated and hopeless. It's one of the worst products I've ever seen put on an NFL field. One of the worst. I don't know if I've ever seen a worse offensive, at least, product put on the field than what I have seen by the Tennessee Titans, really dating back to last year, but especially the first 6 weeks. Just awful. Nathan said at least Levis can score touchdowns. Yeah, for the other team. But anyway, I don't know how it could have gone so wrong, because I was a fan of the Brian Callahan hire when it happened, but what a disaster. Just one of the worst hires in NFL history. 4-19 as a head coach. And honest to God, couldn't have been worse. Could not have been worse. It's been disgusting. And so I hate to see a man lose his job, but bro, this organization was going nowhere with him. And the fact that everybody has known he's going to get fired, it's just been a dark cloud. Been a dark cloud hanging over this organization. He just brought nothing to the table. And you can debate whether the Titans had gone as far as they could with Vrabel and, whether it was time to fire him. But, whether they fired the right guy or not, they hired the wrong guy to replace him. Like, there's not much of a leg to stand on to talk about whether Vrabel was a good enough coach or not when you hire Brian Callahan next. Like, it's just absolutely atrocious. Again, you guys are asking about the pumpkin patch. We already went to the pumpkin patch. We're about to go somewhere else, but I asked my wife if I could come up here and do this, and she absolutely said yes, because she's a good woman. I'll tell you that right there. Man, what else can I even say about this? Like, it's just sad that we even got to this point. It's sad that this is considered a victory Monday, that the head coach got fired. It's like, yes, we won. But truthfully, like, when you're getting whooped by the Raiders, I mean, the Raiders aren't good, and the Raiders absolutely destroyed the Titans. And I will say, if you're looking for another bright side, a lot of the teams that I thought were going to be in the market for a new head coach are suddenly looking better. Like, I thought the Panthers were probably going to part ways with Dave Canellis, but the Panthers are looking better, so they may stick with him. I think the Dolphins are absolutely going to part ways with McDaniel, but people are asking about Stefanski and the Browns. I still think Stefanski's a good coach, but the Browns might fire him. Either way, I've said this before, I will say this again. I think the Titans head coaching job will have some appeal whenever that time comes, and I know we've got a while because they can't hire anybody new till January, but I think the job will have some appeal. New stadium coming, Cam Ward, Brian Callahan's in the chat, everybody. Cam Ward, new stadium, probably a top 5 draft pick, safe bet, lots of cap space to work with. So, like, it feels like a job that does have some appeal. The main thing that makes it not appealing, is the higher-ups and feeling like they don't know what they're doing, because there's no reason to believe that they do know what they're doing at this point, because Robinson, Vrabel, Carthon, Callahan, it's just gone from bad to worse over the last few years. You guys are talking about who the next head coach should be. I don't want to get too far into that because I know we got we got a long time before that comes. I mean, it's a few months away, but some of y'all talking about John Gruden. I don't think John Gruden's going to be the next head coach of Tennessee Titans. I could see him reaching out to him just because new stadium, maybe you want somebody with some recognition and some name value, but I don't think that's going to happen. Mike McCarthy, maybe. I realize that's not the most exciting hire in the world, but at this point, I just want some stability. Joe Brady. I mean, yeah, the Joe Bradys of the world, Cliff Kingsbury, yeah, like maybe, but I'm super skeptical now of these OCs who work with generational quarterbacks, because it's just like, I mean, is it really them, or is it just they're working with generational talents? Like, is it really Joe Brady knocking it out of the park as the offensive coordinator in Buffalo, or is he just with Josh Allen? That's what makes me skeptical there. And with Cliff Kingsbury, I've seen him as a head coach before, and it wasn't great. So, I don't know. Some of y'all are talking about James Franklin. Get out of town. Eddie George. Eddie's doing okay at Bowling Green. And Jay has a good point. Rand Carthon had no GM experience. We hired him. Brian Callahan had no head coaching experience. We hired him. That makes me wonder if the Titans are going to want to hire somebody that has some experience to bring some stability to this awful situation. Like, I mean, Cliff Kingsbury does have experience. I don't know if it's good experience, but because I don't remember Cliff Kingsbury being a good head coach. But, I mean, maybe Cliff Kingsbury. Nick Saban, get out of here. Somebody mentioned Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick needs to just retire, man. He's ruining his legacy. But, it's a day, I guess, of celebration. I mean, because we needed something. We needed something good to happen. And, Brian Callahan's no longer the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, and the Titans host the Patriots on Sunday. He forced their hand. That's just what I keep going back to. They didn't want to do this, but Brian Callahan forced their hand. It became unavoidable. It became the elephant in the room that was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger every single week. And even if your thought process was, let's just try to hang on till the end of the year, let's just try to hang on till the bye, it was never going to happen. This guy is just, this guy was so bad, and this team was so bad under him, so poorly coached. You couldn't wait. You couldn't wait. Like, what are there, 11 more games? I couldn't sit here and watch Brian Callahan coach for 11 more games. I can't do it. And neither can you. Like, let's be honest. You're probably not going to be too excited for Titans Patriots on Sunday, but can you imagine with Callahan as a coach, would you be excited? Would you be excited about Titans Patriots? No. Like, Callahan, just nothing from him has been remotely exciting. It's been one of the worst hires ever. And of all the firings, all of them, Robinson, Vrabel, Carthon, Callahan, I think Callahan absolutely the most deserving. The most deserving of all the firings. Like, John Robinson deserved it. The A.J. Brown trade alone, John Robinson deserved it. Vrabel, there's obviously a lot of people who feel like he did not deserve it. Rand Carthon, there's a lot of people who feel like that one was too hasty. But this one here, this Brian Callahan firing, he has been the most deserving to be fired of any of the people the Titans have fired lately. Callahan was the most deserving. And you had to do, I mean, not just because of how bad the team looked, but particularly how bad Cam Ward has been looking. Cam Ward's been getting worse and worse and worse, looking more lost and more lost every single week. You cannot do, you absolutely have to do everything in your power right now to try to help him as much as you can. Because I talked about this last night. You picked him first overall. He's not going anywhere. Like this, again, this isn't Madden. You're not just going to get on there and draft a new quarterback or hit up free agency or trade. Like, this isn't the video game. This is real life. He is your quarterback for the foreseeable future, so you've got to figure out how to make it work right now. A full season with Brian Callahan would have set him so far behind, would have set Cam Ward so far behind. If he had to go with Brian Callahan the rest of this season, it would have, I'm not going to say it would have ruined him, but it would have put him so far behind the 8 ball. And it's so fascinating to me that Bryce Young, followed by Caleb Williams, followed by Cam Ward, every single one of them had their head coach fired during their rookie season. It is the never-ending struggle of having the number 1 overall pick and having that pick because you're terrible, and then the coach is bad, the quarterback coming in doesn't stand a chance. Like, it's hard to figure out how to balance it. Light said they just canceled the 2:30 press conference. Well, there you go. Have they named an interim yet? But it's a never-ending struggle, man. It's a never-ending struggle of how do you, but if I'm a team that has a number 1 overall pick and I'm going to take a quarterback, I'm going to be inclined to fire my head coach, because this is now, if you want hope for Cam Ward, Bryce Young's playing well. Caleb Williams is playing well. So it can be turned around. It can be turned around. Okay? But you got to, this is a terrible way to put this, but like you've got to remove the cancer. That's the first thing you got to do before you can start healing. And I know that's a terrible way to put that, but I can't think of another way to put it. You've got to remove the disease. And Brian Callahan is the biggest part of the disease. Our big Will Levis defenders. I'll give you this. Will Levis never stood a chance under Brian Callahan. Never stood a chance. Never stood a chance. Now, I don't think Will Levis would have ever turned into anything as a franchise quarterback anyway, but you have to keep in mind, I didn't want to draft Will Levis. I didn't want Will Levis in the draft. Not even in the second round, I didn't want him. I was never a big believer in him. So keep in mind, I'm coming at it as that. But the guy was never going to turn into anything. He was never going to turn into anything under this coach. You can't begin to heal until you remove the disease. And the Titans removed the disease today. They removed the disease. And the healing process can begin, but the problem is we're in the middle of the season, folks. It's not like we're in week 16. Like we just got through week 6. We got 11 more games to go. Like we got 11 more games. And so that means what can we do with Cam Ward for the rest of the season so that he can learn and get better and get good experience and be put in a position to be successful? Let me go back to the statement that Chad Brinker put out. He said, while we are committed to being patient and having a strategic plan to build a sustainable winning football program, we have not demonstrated sufficient growth. No kind of growth. There's been no growth. This team's even worse than last year. Our players, fans, and community deserve a football team that achieves a standard we are not currently meeting. You dang right we do. And we are committed to making the hard decisions necessary to reach and maintain that standard. All he had to do was show improvement. That's all he had to do. And he couldn't even do that, man. Like, we can't even line up right. We got guys lining up off sides every game. Illegal shifts, illegal formations. And I don't know if that's going to get better with an interim. I mean, maybe the undisciplined nature of this team it runs so deep that just getting Callahan out of the building won't be enough to fix it right now. But you can't tell me the coaches believe in anything this guy's been selling. I'm sure they think he's a nice guy, but you can't tell me. Like, if Jeff Simmons is going to stand there in that locker room yesterday and say, hey, like, we had a terrible week of practice. Our worst week of practice coming off of our first win of the season. Like, that's pretty much him saying our head coach is no good and we got to fire him. And then Cam to agree with him, your number one overall pick, is saying, hey, we had a terrible week of practice. Like, they're begging you. You got to fire this coach. Nothing's going to get any better with this coach. Once again, y'all are attributing quotes to me that Tyler said. Daniel said, you said it before, Callie is a nicer version of stubborn Vrabel. Tyler Rowland said that, but I agree with Tyler's assessment. I'm pretty sure Bill is going to leave with Brian Callahan over Chicken. Said they got to fire Bill. And, I mean, Nick Holes, what does he even do? Like, I don't even know, but you can fire him. I forgot he was even here. But I just hope this means something good for Cam Ward with the remainder of this season. The Titans are still not going to win a whole lot of football games. Who knows? They may not win one. But, like, you had to do this because of Cam Ward. Like, this dude is just looking worse every week. He looks like he doesn't know what to do. The screens, the long developing runs, the route combinations that are terrible. Like, it's a terrible situation. So you know what? They did the first thing they needed to do today. They fired Brian Callahan. And now cut Tyler Lockett and call up Xavier Restrepo and give the fan base a dang pulse. I don't know if he's going to do anything, but at least give the fan base something. Brandon said, as a Lions fan, excuse me, let me start over. I'm a Lions fan, so I have more of an outside perspective on this, but why are there still Titans fans obsessed with Levis? Should be all in on Cam and not talking about the QB who was a walking meme. I ain't going to add one thing to what Brandon just said. I'm just going to let it marinate. I'm going to let y'all marinate in what Brandon just said. As a Lions fan with an outside perspective, just let it sit. Let it sit. Come on. I agree, Brandon. Man, hopefully this means things can start getting better. Because we gotta get more out of Cam Ward than what we've gotten in 6 weeks. We've got to figure out how to get him playing better than he's played in 6 weeks. Whatever the final record is, you've got to have Cam Ward doing better, or this season's a failure. We said it before the season started. More than wins and losses this season is about Cam Ward and his progression. And that more than the wins and losses is why this season has been a failure up until this point, because he's going the wrong direction. Got to get it right. He ain't going nowhere. You just picked him first overall. That's your guy for the next couple of years. You got to do something. Got to do something to help him. Get Callahan out of here. That's the first thing you can do. And let me be clear. When I say, bro, Nathan, you know better than that, bro. Levis can score twice in under 4 minutes, and it takes Ward 60 minutes to score once. Ward just scored 3 times in 1 quarter the other day, but whatever. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, dude. I don't have it in me to argue with you, but like Cam's your guy for the foreseeable future. Got to do what you can to help him. Got to do what you can to help him. And I'm not saying at all that Xavier Restrepo being called up is going to set this offense on fire. But, I mean, look at this wide receiver group. Am I wrong for just wanting to see what it would look like if you got the guy that Cam has some experience with on the field? You can't tell me Xavier Restrepo can give you more, or at least the same thing as what Tyler Droppett's giving you right now. Like, come on. Van Jefferson. You going to tell me Xavier Restrepo can't give you what Van Jefferson's giving you right now? But the bottom line is, like, we all know the roster's not great, but, you mean to tell me you think this coach was putting these players in the best possible position to succeed? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This team does nothing well. So this was always a matter of when, not if. Brian Callahan was always going to be fired. He was never going to be the head coach going into next season, but I have been clear there is a great benefit to getting him out of there as fast as you can. I said this today before the news even broke. The Raiders, do you remember yesterday? This is how I'll kind of start to wrap up here. The Raiders yesterday, their first turnover the Titans had of the game was where the Raiders had that guy come on a blitz, absolutely untouched. Nobody even remotely tried to stop him. 0.5 seconds, Cam gets sacked, fumble, Raiders get the ball on the 2-yard line. You remember that play, right? The guy who made that play for the Raiders said post-game that they knew what the Titans' offensive line protection was going to be because they've done it in every game. They planned it all week. We know they're going to do this protection, and we know how we're going to get through it. And so they just did it. The Titans, who have never made it, the Brian Callahan Titans, who have never made an adjustment in their lives, who have never adapted a thing on offense, they came out and tried to do the same old stuff, and somebody came in and killed our quarterback and stole the ball. And I shared that quote today on X, almost called it Twitter, X, and I said, this is an emergency. This is an emergency. The poor coaching on this team, as bad of a roster as this is, the poor coaching is making this an emergency for Cam Ward, for the fans, for everybody. It is a panic time. You've got to get this guy out of the building. He's that bad. And thank God they agreed. But they should have agreed with me 3 weeks ago, After that Colts game, they should have fired him then. I don't know what the record would be right now, and I don't care. The fact of the matter is, this organization still waited too long to pull the plug, but they finally pulled the plug. Brian Callahan's gone. Let me check X one more time to see if they have named an interim. Because, again, they got a game Sunday, so they gotta name one soon. Not looking like they've named an interim yet. But Albert Breer, just think about this, folks. Just shared this. The Titans timeline over the last 3 years. December 2022, John Robinson fired. January 2023, Rand Carthon hired. January 2024, Mike Vrabel fired. January 2024, Chad Brinker promoted to president. January 2024, Brian Callahan hired. January 2025, Rand Carthon fired. January 2025, Mike Borgonzi hired. October 2025, Brian Callahan fired. Like, this was the right thing to do today, but this is a dumpster fire of an organization right now. That right there, like, that competent organizations don't do that. When you're constantly, every year you're firing people, every year. And you know what it all goes back to? It all goes back to that fateful night in April of 2022 when A.J. Brown was traded. It set all of this into motion. All of this, the snowball started rolling downhill when the Titans traded A.J. Brown. That's ultimately what led to John Robinson being fired, and then all of this. But here we go again. We got a new head coach coming to town eventually, but right now I just want to see who the interim's going to be. It's either going to be Denard Wilson. I wish it would be Bones Fossil, but the obvious choice is Denard Wilson. I hate that it came to this. But at the end of the day, Brian Callahan is one of the worst head coaching hires that I've ever seen. One of the worst head coaches I've ever seen. And you had to get him out before he absolutely ruined Cam Ward. You had to. God bless the guy. I have no doubt he worked hard and tried. But he was going to ruin Cam Ward before Cam Ward could even get his training wheels off. Had to do it. Should have done it 3 weeks ago. But whatever. Better late than never. Brian Callahan's been fired. And I guess for the 2025 Titans, this is Victory Monday. God bless you, everybody.